Good morning. Well, it's morning now when I'm recording. If you're watching the replay, good morning, good afternoon, good night. And thank you for watching. It was not my plan to come on live this morning, but I had to come and move the car. And now I'm here just watching snow pour down. All right. But I've had something on my mind for the last, few days because I've had the absolute pleasure and honor to speak with many women and have many conversations and coach many women. And one of the first things that comes up when either I'm having a consultation call or right at the beginning of our one-on-one coaching sessions is they tell me, when I was younger, first of all, most of them, their goal is to lose weight, right? And that's what I'm here to do. I'll help you lose weight without any dieting, with sustainable, just regular lifestyle changes. And one of the first things they tell me is when I was little, my family I was always la gordita. They will always call me la gordita. And they always say it with so much pain and sadness, and because that's how they were defined their entire life, by people they loved, right? And there's a few things here, right? So number one, if you are doing this, please stop. Don't call children anything but smart and wonderful and magical and amazing and anything but positive, right? And there's definitely ways that you can teach them and discipline and all that in a positive way, because I want you guys to see. And if this is something that's going on in your family, I know that it's hard to stand up to family and to tell them something, but please stop them from calling or telling this to children. I've had to do that myself for family members, right? It's not okay. It's hurtful. And these are women in their mid 30s, early 40s, who are still carrying that pain inside of them and have not been able to let that go of, when I was little, that's what they would call me. And no matter what they look like, whether it's true or not, that's what they believe, because the people that they love the most, that's what they called them. Okay? So I want you to realize how big of an impact that has on a person. And they're telling me about La Gordita because that's the type of conversation that we're having. But I myself had to overcome things that I was called as a child that did not let me and allow me to be myself and see myself differently. Right? So I just want to offer you, if this is you, right, and you're like, oh, I was always called La Gordita and that's it, I want to change that, right? I want to offer you that the first thing that needs to happen is that you need to ask yourself, is that true? There's a few things. Number one, forgiveness for those family members that called you that, because they probably don't know any better. They did it with love, even though it's hurting you. And there are many things that we do out of love that we don't realize, we are not aware, that is super hurtful to the other person. And calling somebody those things really gets into your head, especially when you're little and you don't know who you are. Or actually, we do know who we are when we're little. And as people start to influence us in this way, it starts to change. We start to question ourselves. We start to lose our intuition. We start to lose our confidence. So many things happen and we start to lose it. So number one is knowing that they probably didn't do it to hurt you, even though it has, and even if you don't realize it, because they don't know any better. And they probably grew up in that environment too, and they are not aware. There are a lot of times where I point things out to my family members that they're not aware it's hurtful. They're just doing it because that's how they were treated, that's how the culture is, all these other things, right? That's number one. Number two, you should ask yourself if it's true, right? Because what's going to happen is that it doesn't matter what you look like, what you do, where you are in your life. If you still believe what your family told you, then that's always going to be your truth. It's never going to change, right? And first, like, we should also not be defining ourselves by the way we look. We're so much more than that. Unless it's like hot and badass and sassy, right? But really thinking of how we're speaking to ourselves. So one of the things that I've been coached on and helped on so much is when I have those doubts in my head or when those thoughts creep up, is it true? And it doesn't matter what your size is. It really doesn't. Is that who you are? Is that your definition of yourself? Right? And start the healing in this way. Because then you can create, number three, you can create your own definition of yourself. Who are you really? And that might take some work. That might be hurtful. That might take some time to figure out who it is that you are outside of the definitions that everybody else had for you. La malcriada, la gordita, la jodona, la odiosa. That's something I was called a lot. So for those of you who don't speak Spanish, is like the person who misbehaves, the person who is kind of like nasty. I don't know. You guys help me if I'm like mistranslating these things. But it's just so present in the Spanish language for me because these are things that would come up so often, and that's how people were described. You never heard anybody being described in a positive way. Ever. I mean, I didn't. You tell me if you did. But it was always these things. I was always called la odiosa, like I don't want to be bothered, or the stank person, right? And I never believed myself to be anything else. Because I was always, and it wasn't because I was, it was just like, I was in my feelings. I have a resting bitch face sometimes. Like, it was like either you were happy and you fit this like persona that your family wanted you to fit, and if you didn't fit that, then you were all the other negative things. And la gordita falls into. We're back. I saw that I was paused because a poor connection, but I'm back. I fixed my Wi-Fi situation, and now I lost track of what I was saying. But anyways, I think it was along the lines of you creating, your own definition for yourself. And when you start to do that, it might be a process because you don't believe those things to be true right now, but they are, right? They are true. So if you were called this by family, again, I'm sorry. I apologize for them. It's not the truth. It's not who you are. And we have control and we can take the power back to redefine ourselves in however we want to be. And like I said before, it doesn't matter what size you are, because when you look in the mirror and when you think about what other people told you, that's what you're going to believe to be true. If you don't start creating and taking back control of who you think you really are, what your definition of yourself really is, right? And give yourself that space and the opportunity to figure that out, right? But start taking action. If you're not like Gordita, who are you? Who are you? Are you a badass woman? Are you a woman that has overcome so many obstacles in your life? Are you powerful? Are you talented? Are you caring? Are you loving? Are you happy? Are you a mom, or you're a daughter, your wife, or your friends? There's so many other ways to define ourselves than how we look, right? Unless it's positive, right? So yeah, I just wanted to offer this to you guys because I hear it over and over and over again, and I see the pain in the eyes. And that's one of the first things that I work on. I had a consultation call recently, and the woman was like, I just want to lose all the weight. Like, I just want it gone. I've tried all these things before. I always get a laundry list of things that people have lost. And they're like, I really don't like this part of my body. I just want it to be gone. That's it. And I asked her, I was like, you know what? I'm not saying that these parts of your body are not going to change. I'm nobody to say that. It's your work to do. I'm here to coach you and guide you to them. What I want to know is, what about if nothing changes? Which is not going to happen, because if you put in the work, stuff changes. But what about if you don't reach this ideal thought that you have in your head of what it should be? Because sometimes that's a lot of times that's what happens too. We have this ideal of what it should be, of what other people look like, of what you expect, but it's not how your body's responding, right? Your body's responding in so many other beautiful different ways. Are you going to be unhappy with yourself? Are you not going to love yourself? Are you not going to accept yourself? So it was working, and I think I've spoken about this before, like working in this middle part area where we are bridging your physical body with your mental state and how you think about yourself, because you can make all the changes in the world. You can look totally different. And if what you think in your mind is something else, then that's what it's going to be. Right? And it's really difficult, especially when you're changing physically and other people have comments too. Just the lady that I was talking to yesterday, she fell under this category. She was la gordita her entire life and her family. And then because of that, she punished her body in a way that it changed, and she became like, she had a different shape. She was thin. And then her family was like, are you sick? What's going on? Now she was no longer la gordita. So it was one extreme to the next. She went from being la gordita to now, what's wrong with you? Are you sick? And she was technically with eating disorders, but they thought she was like, she had like some sort of disease, right? And this is where we need to, again, be so confident in ourselves and know ourselves so well, and set our boundaries so strong so that we're not shaken up when these things happen, and we're brave enough to either let it go and understand that sometimes family is not there yet to understand, or educate, right? I've had to do so much educating in my family in a kind way so they understand that some of these things are unacceptable. It's unacceptable to be telling a little girl that her hair is bad. It's unacceptable to be telling a little girl or a little boy, that they're fat or they're skinny or they're this or they're that. They're dumb. They're stupid. So again, start creating that definition for yourself. And I think I lost control of who's here, who's not, because the Wi-Fi and our phone call, and I can't see comments. So if you are, please drop them in the replay of this video. I would love to continue this conversation and know what your thoughts are. But yes, number one, question those things in your brain. Whatever they told you. As I said all the time, I was told I was odiosa. All the time. So question those things in your brain. Is it true that this is who you are? And if it's not, then start to see the beauty in who you are and start to recreate those definitions for yourself. It will start to give you so much confidence, so much self-assurance, so much trust in yourself when you start to realize who you really are and start using that as those definitions for yourself instead of what everybody else, especially growing up, you're a child, like those things are hard to get out of your head, right? Instead of using that to continue to define you. Okay? And yeah, because sometimes clothes, bags, something materialistic, we highlight our hair, we put on some makeup, we put on some lipstick, that gives us temporary confidence. But that's going to come off. That's going to go away. And your brain is still going to be in you. And those thoughts are still going to be in your brain. So let's start to harvest beautiful little thoughts and brains for our little ones. Let's heal ourselves from all those thoughts that were put in us that were so unfair, and maybe in an unknowing way from family members. Let's start to re-educate them, our family members, if you feel that's something you want to do, because sometimes it's just really not worth it. And we just have to train ourselves and re-educate ourselves. Okay? Because I want to see all of us be freaking amazing and not have those thoughts in our brain. And, well, to be fair, sometimes they do come up, but I don't want them to overpower you, overtake you, control you in this way where you can't be happy. You know, it doesn't have to control your story or who you are anymore. Okay. Again, I'm Naomi, food and health coach. If you guys are looking for one-on-one food and health coaching, overall holistic wellness coaching, I am happy to speak to you. You can book a consultation with me. That literally, this is a conversation I would have with my clients all the time. So it's not just about food. Food is just one small portion of it. If you don't start to change your mindset around how you perceive yourself, and change that too, along with physical things like eating and what you're eating, then you're only doing half the journey, right? Because anybody can just go on a meal plan, eat different foods and all that. But if you don't start changing what's in between your ears, your eyebrows, your eyes, all these things at the same time, and it be a holistic joint effort, then you're kind of not really moving in your journey, right? Because the change really happens when it's overall in your brain too, because of all the other reasons I said before. So yeah, that's what my coaching consists of. Yes, it's mostly food and movement and those physical aspects, but it's also getting curious as to how you're thinking about these things as they're happening and as they're changing. All right. I'm going to go get some breakfast now. I'll see you guys. Enjoy this snowy day today. Bye.